recording.
We are recording.
We've started.
We have started. So yeah. So, do you want to start with this?
I don't mind. Yeah. What do you want me to start with? Where shall I start?
Well, I think we need to do kind of like a little bit of an intro kind of thing to the show as well.
So this is living with leukemia. Should we talk about how we decided to do this or come up with it?
Yes, that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
So why we did it, or why you're doing it, or why you want to do it, the reasons behind it.
I think a lot of it is, I found myself, when I found out, obviously Archie, for those of you that don't know, Archie was diagnosed with leukemia in February. It is, they say it's ALL, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. They say it's the good type.
What is that though? What is leukemia?
Leukemia, so the type of leukemia he has, it is his white blood cells, and obviously your bone marrow produces white blood cells.
Yeah.
With his, they are maturing too quickly.
Okay.
And because they're maturing too quickly, there's too many of them. And then they're being released into the bloodstream, and it's making him poorly.
And that's actually what makes them ill.
It kind of like attacks everything else in the body as well. So it, there's a drop in the platelets, there's a drop in the hemoglobin levels.
Yeah.
If he picks up coughs, colds, his body just cannot fight it off.
Okay. So it's basically, he's got too many blood cells, white blood cells, which fights infection.
Yeah.
And then it's basically thinking everything in his body is an infection.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. No, I think that's
you know what? I'm learning as I go.
This is it.
I am learning as I go. Sometimes I have to pick up my phone and just double check, am I saying the right thing?
So what's happened? Tell us the journey, the start of this. I mean,
from when he was diagnosed, or from the lead up to the diagnosis?
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I think people find it interesting as well to hear certain signs of, that you could maybe notice in themselves or their children, friends, family, something like that, which may help them think, oh, good, you know what, I never thought of that. Yeah, this has happened to them, because you've got quite a interesting
there's quite
story.
A lot, and there's quite a lot of symptoms that he had as well, and they weren't all coinciding with each other. They were all happening at different times.
Yeah.
And if you would think, okay, so there were times, I'd say going back in November last year, he was very active.
Yeah.
He played football. He did football training twice a week, had a football game on a Sunday. Saturdays he'd do 3 hours of performing arts, singing, dancing, acting.
Super active then.
Really, really active, really fit. Yeah. And there were times where, it comes sort of towards the end of November, and he was just really tired.
How old was Archie? Sorry, I forgot.
He was 8 at the time.
Yeah.
He was 8.
About
he was 8
years
yeah.
old. Yeah.
He'd go on to he'd play a game of football, and he'd play 12 minutes, and he'd be completely out of breath. And that was not normal. Even with Archie's dad, my husband, Baz. You'll all get to meet Baz soon.
Don't worry, we will have guest stars.
He likes to talk a lot, Baz.
We will have guest stars.
He obviously manages a team, but he would be like shouting at Archie. You're being lazy. You're being lazy, but it's what any dad would do.
Yeah. You wouldn't have known,
you wouldn't have known. Obviously, like later on down the line, the guilt hit him. But, it was a case of, come on, stop being lazy, pick it up, or you're coming off. And it was like that. And he'd come home from...
And what was Archie saying, though, and stuff like that?
That he was tired.
He was just tired. He didn't think anything different.
I can't run anymore. He was literally screaming at his dad, I cannot run anymore, I'm out of breath.
Okay.
And obviously, me being mum, obviously I help out on the sidelines, and I'm like, just come off. And me and Baz would be back and forwards with each other, bickering. Like, I'm being the protective mum, and he's being the encouraging dad.
The pushy dad.
Yeah.
I like the way you used encouraging, and I went pushy.
He was the best for him. But, so that was one of the first things, and I just put that down to, I'm just doing too much with him. I need to cut back on a few things because he was too tired.
Makes sense.
And then there'd be the odd occasion where he would throw up, he would be sick, but there would be no temperature. We would just
no reason, just
nothing. We'd be at his older brother's football game, and he'd just come over and go, I need to be sick. And he'd go off, be sick, and then be absolutely fine after.
Oh, wow.
So that was around sort of November time. And then around the beginning of September, I noticed...
This is 2022?
2022, yeah.
2022, yeah.
No, December, yes, December. Sorry, Liv, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed large lumps on his neck. And it was a really, really big one. I've posted pictures on his Instagram page. They're not very good to look at, but they're another one of the signs.
Yeah.
But originally, I just thought, okay, he's got a viral infection because your lymph nodes come up when you have a viral
I was just about to ask that. Was it the lymph nodes?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, later on down the line, we found out it was enlarged lymph nodes. But again, you put that down to a virus.
Virus infection.
You know, it could have been glandular fever, it could have been mumps, anything like that. So again, he didn't show any symptoms of temperature, being unwell. All right, he had felt a bit tired, but again, I just thought, okay, he's obviously feeling run down. And because he had the urticaria, I've explained bits of this on his Instagram page.
Explain to me what's
urticaria is like an autoimmune.
I was going to say it sounds like a magic spell or something.
Yeah, it is. It's an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
Where your body tries to attack itself, basically.
Yeah.
And this started when he was 7. So this first started happening when he was 7. His whole body would come out in hives.
Yeah.
He would be red from head to toe. A lot of swelling on the lips and things like that. So that's a bit about urticaria. I don't really know too much about that. He's had tests to show if he's allergic to anything and things like that, but we've never really got to the bottom of it.
No, that's cool.
So I kind of thought, okay, maybe the lumps and him being a bit run down was due to that because everything was on the lower side.
Yeah.
So that was that. Left it for a couple of weeks. I just thought maybe he's just feeling a bit run down. We'll see how it goes.
Did you Google anything? Did you go online?
No, but something in the back of my mind was telling me, is it Hodgkin's lymphoma? I don't know why I was thinking that.
Yeah. It's just a gut feeling.
Just a gut feeling, yeah. Something wasn't sitting right with me.
Yeah.
Something was not sitting right with me. It just kept niggling away at me. And you know what? It was like I was seeing signs everywhere. I'm really into, some people will look at me and think, oh, you're daft or whatever. I was driving along one day and I see a sign that said, if you need help because you're suffering from cancer, and I'm thinking all these signs, like what's going on? Because I'm seeing all these signs everywhere. Something, I felt like I was going mad. Honestly, felt like I was going mad, and then didn't do anything for a little while, and then my son's friend.
What was the push? Yeah, what was the pusher?
The push, right. So my son's friend, I'm not going to mention her name, she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah.
And again, at that time, I was like, she had exactly the same symptoms as Archie.
Yeah.
And it just was not sitting right with me. So I thought, you know what? The lumps weren't going anywhere. Tried to contact the doctors, you can't get anywhere with them. So I decided to take him to a local walk-in centre.
Mm-hmm.
Went in, he did a full body examination. He said to me that he had lymph nodes in his armpits, in his groin, but he was showing no signs of infection anywhere.
Okay.
No temperature, no sore throat, no chesty cough, nothing. But he did send me away with antibiotics and said follow it up with your GP because it needs investigating. So that's what I did. I went to the GP about a week later after getting an appointment. And even at that point, I sort of sent, Baz and Archie out of the room, and I said to the doctor, are we looking at cancer here? I have a gut feeling.
So you were like
I was
out
on it,
whether
that was my anxiety, I don't know what it was, but it just was not sitting right with me.
It's good that you did that though, because a lot of parents, I can imagine, once they're given something from the doctor, they're trusted a professional and stuff, I can imagine them thinking, okay, that's it, I'll give this but that's just nice to hear from you to say that you did just
I was
honest, it was just transparent and blunt with it and was like, is this what it is?
And the thing that didn't sit right with me is that he didn't say no.
Yeah.
He did not say no. He didn't say no, he didn't say yes. It was the look in his eyes. And I remember, calling my mum after when I come out and I'd said I asked him if we were looking at cancer and he didn't say no and he didn't say yeah. And at that point, it was like, I'm not stopping.
What did you feel inside? Did your heart sink? What was it?
What was the
feeling?
It's like, you feel like...
Because you ain't got an answer to anything.
No, and it's like, it's like the only way I can describe it is like you're trying to like fight to get answers, but you just feel like you're just hitting a brick wall every single time. It's like you're getting a pushback constantly.
More, it's like opening a box even more, and you're getting deeper and deeper, and you're like, oh my god, there's just.
And it's not that it doesn't help either, because you start googling things, and I know they say don't Google it, but you know what? Sometimes googling it, you get the answers that you need because you know what to ask the doctors.
It's the push, something you would never think, something like you wouldn't have considered friends or family. I can imagine.
That's it. And obviously going back to the doctors, I mean, he was amazing. The doctor that we see, he was brilliant, and he actually contacted the local hospital and said that he wanted bloods taken straight away.
Wow.
We didn't have to sit and wait in the urgent care part. We just got sent straight through to paediatrics, which is what we did. But at the time, there was a nurse strike. So they was extremely understaffed.
So this kind of plays into it as well. So that's interesting. I can imagine stressful for you guys. I mean,
that's it.
Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. It was frustrating. Obviously they took the bloods. This is the next frustrating part, is that we were seen by a consultant. It wasn't, just your standard doctor. It was a consultant. He didn't do a full body examination. He sat Archie in a chair, felt his lumps on his neck. Strep A.
Strep A, really?
Strep A.
Because I know there was a lot of strep A going around a few years back. Or, you were excited.
And I looked at my husband and I said to him, that is not strep A. Yeah. He didn't have a cough, he didn't have a sore throat, he didn't have a temperature. And I'm looking at this consultant and I'm thinking, you haven't even checked him over. And you're quite happy to send me away with antibiotics telling me that it's strep A.
And you've already had antibiotics as well.
And nothing had
changed.
And the consultant had actually turned around and said to me, well, I've got a lymph node on the back of my neck. It's been there years.
Cheers.
We're not getting to the bottom of what's going on. I mean, to be fair, the blood test came back normal.
Yeah.
So he had no reason
to escalate it.
No, but for me, I'd even looked at him and said, are we looking at the C word? And he went, no, we're not looking at the C word.
Okay.
So that was the frustrating part as well, because again, it was like another pushback. Well, what is it then? Yeah. I've had two or three people tell me now, we're not looking at, maybe one person, we're not looking at cancer. But in the back of my mind, I knew it was. I don't know why, I just knew it was.
Saying, and like you say, one door's closing. Yep, it's not this, but another one's opening. It's going to be this, and you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I just want to know what the hell it is. I want my boy to be okay.
Yeah, and nothing was working, and I was looking at him and thinking, backwards and forward to the doctors. But in a way, I kind of look at it as a blessing in disguise now, because I think we were able to enjoy Christmas.
True, yeah, I was going to say, that's...
Because we'd gone in the 20th of December, we'd gone in, and looking back at it now, I think if it had been picked up then, we would have been in hospital over Christmas.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I think, do you know what, that is a bit of a blessing, because we got to enjoy that Christmas.
That last bit of normal. Well, I mean, you guys wouldn't have even known that was your last kind of normal Christmas.
And I think, everything happens for a reason, and that happened for a reason. And, he sent us away. If it doesn't clear up, go back to your GP. Which is what we did. So we got through Christmas.
So we're looking at 2 months now. What is it? 2 months, 3 months now?
2 months, from November to December. We got through Christmas. All right, he, because he'd had a break, he had no football and he had no dancing over Christmas because they were on half term. We didn't notice the tiredness as much. So I just assumed, okay.
Too many sweets, too much cake, just a bit tired, late nights,
not eating enough
early
nutritional
mornings.
food, things like that, basically.
The Christmas season. The Christmas season.
We got after Christmas, and then I started noticing that he wasn't eating. So, again, he'd come home from school, and he'd say, I didn't like my lunch, didn't want to eat it. Okay. So I'd buy him, the Lunchable. So he'd eat a Lunchable. After school, we'd go and have a Lunchable. To try, because he said he was hungry.
So he just wants bitty stuff. So
yes,
just
really
bitty, easy to
snacky
eat
bits.
Stuff. Yeah.
And then I'd think, right, I'd do him a big dinner because he's not had much for lunch. He'd take one mouthful and fill up.
Okay.
But at the time, he was playing the computer.
As well,
and for me, because he was on Fortnite with his friends, I'm like, okay, he just wants to rush off. Doesn't want to eat. Wants to rush off and go back to the computer. So in the end, I was like, you're not going on the computer. You're going to sit here and finish your dinner. He just couldn't do it. He could not do it, and I was like, this ain't right. How can he not eat all day? He's had a Lunchable, I'm doing him dinner, and he just can't eat it. You know, he was having 2 mouthfuls, wasn't he? Literally 2 mouthfuls. I can't eat no more.
And then
full
he
up.
started crying because he just said, I can't.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
And then it was probably frustrating for him.
How did you feel about it? How were you kind of taking that on, if that makes sense? So,
What with him not eating?
Yeah, you know, like you said about Baz, in a sense of sort of like the dad guilt, and was there like sort of like mum guilt when you look back on it and you think, oh, you know what, I wish I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Or I wish I pushed it forward a bit more, or.
No, I think for me, I was just very much like, I wanted him to be comfortable because I spend a lot of time with Archie. Obviously, my older 2, they're a lot older, they're a lot independent. And me and Archie, we've always had a very, very close bond, very close relationship. And I just wanted the best for him. So if he didn't want to eat, I didn't want to force him because he was clearly uncomfortable. And I didn't want, he said, I'm bloated, I just can't eat. And I didn't want to force him to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then after that, I'd still encourage him. But then there'd be days where he would eat big meals. So it's very up and down. It was very up and down, wasn't it? There'd be times where, he'd eat like 4 slices of pizza from Domino's.
So
and I'd think like...
You guys are getting confused then and thinking, what's going on?
But then he started, over the next sort of 3 weeks, he'd say like, I've got pains in my legs. My legs are hurting. And do you know what, even thinking about it, like now, even when he was like 6, 7, he'd say, I've got pains in my shin. I even went to the doctors and we had an x-ray on his shins, because even then I thought, oh my God, he's got bone cancer. You know, everything that I'm thinking is all this pain, I'm thinking it's cancer here, cancer there, it's just...
Now, I'm gonna stop you for a sec, right? I'm going to stop you now, I'm going to have to jump in, because you've mentioned something there. Why do you go to that place, do you think? Why did you go? Is there history in the family? Like what? Yeah.
So my mum has had cancer. She had cancer of the womb when she was about 26. She had her womb removed. When I was pregnant with Archie, my dad had bladder cancer. He went in for day treatment and had the tumour removed. I don't think anyone else in the family has had cancer, but I know it runs in the family. And obviously you read things about it skips a generation and things like that.
And that's what I thought I'd ask, because the fact that you would think, like you said, at 6 and 7 years old, but my mind wouldn't normally go to cancer. Do you see what I mean?
But I think a lot of it is, I have got anxiety. My anxiety is there. It's
worst case scenario, are you saying?
Yeah, I always go to worst case scenario.
Plan for the worst,
expect
always.
The best. Literally, it is. I always think the worst. Even with Olivia when she goes to school, and I'm like, she'll text me and I think, oh my God, what's happened? You know, I
haven't read
who
it yet.
started on her, like, kind of thing, like, you know, that lioness comes out in you, and it's like, you do go into like mum mode, like, you know, you protect your children.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, it was like, you know, even going back to Archie's birth and things like that, you know, when he was born, it wasn't a straightforward birth. You know, he was a big baby. He was 9'8", and he got stuck, and we had to go down for an emergency cesarean. And when he came, obviously I was knocked out. When he came round, they said like he had to go into an incubator because he had bad gases in his umbilical cord and things like that. And you know, when the doctors and that spoke to me then, and they said if we had him out in 8 minutes, if we hadn't had him out, he would have died. Because his heartbeat stopped. When being in a hospital, and when all this came around, I just all these things like come to my mind, and I think like, I shouldn't think it, but you know when you think like, it's my child meant to be here, and I'm speaking a raw truth here. It is. I'm going on a deep level.
That is raw. Yeah, that's very vulnerable. Yeah,
because you think
why is the odds stacked up against it?
Yeah, his heartbeat stopped when he was a baby. Okay, he had bad gases in umbilical cord, and it's like, even when he was a baby, he would cry all the time. I couldn't take him anywhere. He wasn't a happy child. He wasn't. Not until he got to sort of like a toddler age.
A couple of years, something like that.
And then he sort of started.
Yeah.
But he always had trouble with going to the toilet. Like, I know boys have trouble with. But there was always something in my mind. I don't know what it is. Whether I've got premonitions, things like that. But it always stuck with me that he wasn't going to be on this earth long. I don't know why. Okay. And that is me being totally honest. you know, I've done this to be honest.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
And you went to that psychic.
Yes. Yeah. Before I fell pregnant with Archie, I went to a psychic and she said to me, I can see that you and your partner are going to have a baby. Don't do it.
Really?
Wow. God's honest truth. I've got it on a disc somewhere.
Wow.
We need to play it.
Wow.
She said to me, don't do it. Do not do it.
She says there would be
normally I'm not lost for words.
There would be a lot of pain and suffering. She said there would be a lot of pain and there would be a lot of suffering. And, you know, that is me, you know, people are going to see me saying this, but, you know, as a parent, you shouldn't think it, but it is there in my mind.
It's like you say, yeah. I mean, I'm a parent too, you know that and stuff. And
you would never think that. You know, don't get me wrong, Harry and Olivia, I've never had that type of feeling. Yeah. Never ever. I've never, you know, not worried how I worry about Archie.
Do you sometimes feel though it's because of kind of what's happened is because of the way you think then? About Archie especially, so you know you've had this person say this to you. It's kind of not planted the seed as such in your head or anything, but it's just there.
I don't know. I just have this gut feeling. I don't know what it is, and every time I have this gut feeling, it always turns out to be right. I don't know.
You're just hoping it's going to be wrong.
I hope
one day,
I pray to God it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah, I pray to God, but you know that is me being. I have to be honest. I have to, you know. If I come on here and said, you know, I don't feel like that, I'd be a fraud, I'd be a liar.
This is it, you know.
And I don't want, you know, people need to know how you feel. And, you know, that is me being honest. I've always felt like his soul is not going to be on this earth long. And it's literally, like when your child's diagnosed, you wake up every day and you think, is my child going to survive today?
I personally can't even imagine that type of, I wouldn't even call it anxiety. It's like it's more
fear.
Of a fear,
yeah,
pain,
it is a
constant pain
yeah.
of, you know, having to wake up every day and you know that someone, and you know, as we all know, like kids are innocent, you know, to an extent, you know, they haven't done anything to warrant anything, so you know, this is why it hits so hard. And it hits home with so many people, and this is why what you're doing now is so important, because there's going to be plenty of parents out there who are going to just feel a bit lost and feel a bit unsupported, whether it's because of the medical service, whether it's because of friends, family, their partners, you know, kids, them just in themselves if they've done enough. You know, so you talking from a raw perspective, it does. It just helps. It just, I know there's going to be people.
I feel like I shocked you when I said that. I felt like I felt like Archie.
It's a harsh.
Is not going to be here.
Yeah.
No, I felt like that's how, you know.
It's not a truth as such, because you don't want that. No, but
of course
it's
not.
I
want him to live.
Truth
you know, he needs to outlive me. You know, and his dad. But that I've said it to my mum, and it's a guilt, because I think, why do I feel like that? But it's like, I've always felt like I've had some sort of like psychic inability. I've always felt that. Always. But it's just niggling away at me that he's just, you know, and I feel like that's why we've got such a close bond, because I feel like there's such a strong connection of knowing before. Is it because happens. I know that I've not got long with him?
Yeah, and
that is how I feel.
Doing everything, and whether you do, I mean, we can't control what happens and stuff like that, and you know, as we'll go on through this podcast and the story and the journey and stuff, you know, we'll talk about Archie's progress and you know where he is currently and stuff like that, and you know, things are looking positive at the moment, as you were saying, and you know, and kind of before we kind of go back to
the diagnosis.
See, and this is it. This is what it's all about. It's very easy. Do you see how we've just gone on this tangent?
Totally
because but it's important as well. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's important that people know the background.
Of course.
How we've got to where we are today. But going back to that, obviously we enjoyed Christmas.
Yeah.
And then he started, you know, with the food and things like that, and then with the leg pain and you know, you asking why I automatically thought cancer when he was 7 with the leg pain. But we got the all clear from that. And then I just put it down to growing pains. Okay, he's got growing pains in his legs because his dad used to have that. His dad's very tall.
Yeah.
Put it down to that. But then, you know, I'd say about 2 weeks before diagnosis, he started coughing up phlegm.
Mm.
But it wasn't like...
Normal.
Not your ill kind of, that's it,
was
it's
like
done.
Green.
It was
thick.
Yeah, but it was like really green. It wasn't like your normal like chesty cough.
Like fluorescent green.
Yeah,
like.
it was.
Wow.
It was bad.
Fluorescent green. Yeah.
And it was like he'd have like this phlegm coming out of his nose, but it was like string, so you could like pull, and it would just come out and come out. And come
Really?
out. And it was, but then it would. So it'd be like that for a couple of days, and then he'd be fine.
I've got to find out. Did you ever find out what that stuff coming out of his nose?
It was a build up of.
Oh, was it just like
It was
that's
a
what I was going to say? If it was like a sign or something.
So he had lymph nodes on the chest. So every time he was picking something up, it was just sitting
hitting
on the
his
chest.
lungs,
Yeah.
and that's
the only
it.
way it could come out, because the white blood cells weren't doing its job.
Wow.
It was literally just congested everywhere. It was
so
bad.
thick
Yeah,
that it was literally like you said, you're pulling it out of him.
But once,
like, wow.
You know, it'd be like that for a couple of days, and then he would be fine, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Be absolutely fine, and then
a week later
it'd come back. And I think, like, what is going on? And then, I just thought, right, okay. So the lymph nodes hadn't cleared up. I requested another blood test. I remember the date, 17th of January. They came back normal. And even the doctors didn't want to do it because it was so close. It was so close to the blood test done in December. It was like, well, it's going to be the same because it's only been 4 weeks. And I'm like, but it still needs to be done.
But you're seeing all this physical stuff happen to him.
It still needs to be done.
And you're like, well, I know something's wrong because this is happening.
Yeah.
I know what that's saying. So
and then, so that was like up and down and up and down. And then a week before diagnosis, he kept complaining of back pain, didn't he? In his lower back. I've got back pain and it won't go. I've got back pain and headaches.
Okay.
But the headaches just would not go, would they? Every day he would wake up with a headache. I'd give him Calpol, he'd go to school, he'd be fine, and then he'd be like, coming home from school, I've got a headache again.
So that's a good point you make though. So he's still going to school.
Yeah, he's still going to school. But it wasn't until, so I didn't know this, and this is frustration on my end again, because when he was diagnosed, and I spoke to the school and I said, well, did you notice anything at school?
Well, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was
wanting. And they said, oh yeah, he was a bit lethargic in class. He was a bit tired. Well, why didn't you bring that to my attention?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So school noticed things.
That he was tired in class. Why are they not, they might feel there's no reason to, but surely they could sort of pull me to one side and be like, notice Archie's tired in class, is everything okay at home?
That's what I mean. So it's not a case of, you didn't get to see the teachers. You're seeing the teachers and they're just not having that conversation.
Not passing that. And I think,
with you at the time.
With things like this, even in every day-to-day life, you have to communicate. You have to communicate. Even if it is just something little, just let that parent know.
Exactly. It could be much more.
Yeah.
Oh, well. And in this case it was.
Yeah. But even so, so he'd had the headaches, he'd had the back pain, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, all right, it's the virus again. He's got a virus, the lymph nodes aren't going, the blood tests are coming back normal. What could it be like? I just wasn't getting anywhere.
And how would that... So you've gone through months now with your son.
Weeks and weeks, yeah.
And obviously Aaron and Olivia are their age and everything, they're a lot older, they're teenagers and stuff like that. You've got this young kid there, he's going through this, he's getting weaker, physically weaker, worse and worse, day in, day out. You've got no answers from the school, you've got no answers from, the NHS as such, you've got no answers at home. I mean, what was happening at home? How did you guys feel? How did you feel? How did, your husband feel? How did the kids feel? What was going on? Like, was there anger? Was it confusion? Was it a bit of everything? Scared?
I felt like no one was listening to me.
But is that outside? But is that also including your family as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like they thought I was really overreacting.
Yeah.
And they thought that, I'm a hypochondriac and whatever else, because I do overreact with things.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows.
No, there you go. No.
I overreact. I do.
I'm not saying. No, I'll leave it down to
I felt like everything was just being compressed because I couldn't get it out, and it was like
it's on you.
Yeah, and it was literally like, you're not listening to me. I was literally on edge. No one's listening to me. There's something going on with my child, and no one is listening to me. There was a point where he was getting bruises, so he got bruised on the back of his arm, he got a bruise on his, and I'm thinking, well, how's he got that bruise?
Yeah.
Normal kids get bruises on their shins.
Yeah, they bump in, like bang into
playing
stuff. They're
football,
playing
but
football,
he was getting
climbing,
bruises
whatever.
in places that you wouldn't get bruises. So I spoke to my mum one day and she came in, she said, well, you know how you would know, you know, push your skin like that and there'd be a bruise there. So she was trying to make me not worry and not look into it and everything like that, and I'm thinking, no, I don't believe you. That's all I kept thinking. I don't believe you, I know I'm right, I know something's going on. Baz, we'll get to Baz.
This is why, so this is why I want... Yeah,
I don't want to say typical man, I don't want to say typical man, but he was a typical man. He thought I was overreacting. Don't worry about it, love. That's all I got. Don't worry about it, love. He's fine. Don't worry about it. He's just done well, you know.
Was that more out of, like you say, general dude, put it to the back of the mind kind of thing, busy? Was there stuff going on in life at the time as well?
He was busy with work, he was very busy with work. And obviously, I was at home, working from home. We have a company together, you know. So as much as my mind was busy, it was always still in the back of my mind, right, I need to follow up with this, I need to follow up with that. A lot of it does fall on the mum, you know, to follow up with appointments, doctor's appointments, blood tests, things like that. But going back to it, so the headaches and the back pain and everything like that. So one day was really, really bad. This was like a day before. So before we took him into hospital. So I hate hospitals, right? If I have to go and sit in a hospital for 4 hours, I won't go. I will not go. I'll be like, Baz, you take them. If they've hurt their leg at school, I'm not doing it. It drives me around the bends. I can't do it. I haven't got the patience for it.
Is it just patience?
It is the patience. I just can't sit there. It's just really, you know, like, and you just think like...
You're a professional at it now. I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't have to sit around for 4 hours anymore, though. It's seen straight away. But, so... He woke up on the Monday. I still remember it. I woke up on the Monday. I got really bad headache, Mum. No, actually, we missed out a vital part. The week before, he started snoring.
Right? Okay.
This kid, my child, he never ever snores, right? He never ever snores. And we're sitting down, aren't we? And we're hearing this noise. I'm thinking, what's that noise? Like, I kid you not, this snoring. You can hear a growling coming from somewhere. It was so bad, wasn't it?
And Nan snores.
No, it was worse than Nan.
We'll edit that out. No more. We'll edit that bit out. Yeah.
But it was so bad, wasn't it? It was so, and I'd go in, and it was like his stomach was sucking in. It was like he couldn't get the air in. It was like he was so congested.
There's his whole body just trying to take it in.
And he was like working so hard to just even breathe. But during the day, he was fine. Yeah. There was the odd occasion where he'd run up the stairs and he'd go, oh, I'm really out of breath. But then he'd be fine.
Yeah.
So that was another one of the signs was the snoring.
Yeah.
But again, that was because of the congestion on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the Monday, he woke up, he had a headache. So I said, right, you can have today off. He was fine. I'll tell you a funny story actually. My dog's got hold of a packet of chewing gum.
Yeah.
On this day, right? I was thinking my dogs are going to die, right? This is how bad I am, right?
Chewing gum.
So I'm Googling, can dogs eat chewing gum? No, if your dog eats chewing gum, your dog can die. You need to take it to the vet, literally, right? I'm phoning the vets up. You need to bring your dog in, right? So I've got 2 little sausage dogs. They're tiny little dogs. It was only Rolo that got hold of it. Took him into the vets. So Archie come with me, took him into the vets. We need to keep him in. So now I think my dog's going to die. So they're, you know, putting all this stuff in my dog to make him throw up, putting him on a drip and all this. I'm thinking, oh, my poor dog's going to die.
Preparation, that's what it was. It was the world's way of preparing you. This is it.
Took Archie for some lunch, didn't think anything of it, went back, picked the dog up. Dog's fine, we just got to give him some charcoal stuff to make sure he don't die, basically. And then they shaved my poor little dog. He had patches on him where he had a poor little bandage on. I was like, this poor dog. Archie was fine, wasn't he? He was absolutely fine. Headache had gone. And on that day, actually, to tell you the truth, the school had phoned me and said to me, tomorrow there's football tryouts.
Is he going to want to come?
Does he want to come in? The teacher wants to know, can you bring the football boots, shin pads in? Archie, do you want to do it? Yeah, brilliant. He's going into school, he feels better. Didn't hear anything off of him. He went into school as normal. Picked him up from school. Mum, my back hurts. Okay. I've got a headache. Okay. Put him in the car. I had to go around and pick Olivia up. And he was saying to me on the way round, I fell over at school today. I fell down the stairs. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So as I
he
picked
fell
you
up
up,
the stairs,
he
didn't
fell up the stairs. I think his shoelaces
Yeah.
were undone. He either fell up or fell down, hit his shins, and picked Liver up from school. And as we were waiting in the car park, I said, "Oh, show me your legs." Showed them to me, and he had a massive egg on his shin.
Was it
and
like proper battered
It was
and
bruised.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something you would expect from a child just falling
up the stairs. Yeah.
You just wouldn't. And
Yeah.
I just said, right, I'll have a look at it at home. We'll put some ice on it at home. Got him home, took his shin pads and his socks off, and I noticed like tiny little blood spots on his feet.
Where on his feet?
So that they were just literally on his foot, on his toes, and they were coming up his leg.
Okay.
But there wasn't a lot of them, and I just thought, okay, is it because he's fallen up the stairs? Is it
Are these like tiny little...
like pinprick?
Yeah.
Literally pinprick.
Okay.
And when I touched them, they weren't blanching, they weren't going anywhere. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, he's got meningitis. So that was the other thing going through my mind.
Chris got a dog back.
Yes.
He's got meningitis.
He's got meningitis. I'm thinking, oh my God. So I'm taking a picture of it. I'm checking his body. He's got them under his armpits. He's got them on his back. There wasn't a lot of them, but again,
they were
my gut
kind
feeling...
in specific places, it's a bit... Okay.
Was not sitting right with me. So I sent a picture. I sent it to Baz. You're overreacting. There's nothing wrong with him. No, I'm not. There's something wrong with him because he's not blanching. He's got meningitis, and I'm literally saying to Baz, he's got meningitis. Oh my God, I need to get him. What do I do? Like, I'm now going into panic mode.
Yeah,
I was going into panic. I phoned the GP up. They know the backstory of Archie. They know all the blood tests he's had. They know he's still got the lumps on his neck are still there. They haven't cleared up. They know he's been unwell. I need to bring him in. He's got this rash on him. I don't know what it is. It's not blanching. Sorry, there's nothing we can do.
What, the GP?
The GP. Sorry, we don't have any appointments for you to come in.
No phone call appointment, not a video appointment, nothing like that.
You need to go to urgent care. That's what she said to me. I said, he needs to be seen urgently.
Not even ring 101 or anything like that. We'll ring the ambulance.
I said, I'm going to be sat, I even said to her on the phone, I'm going to be sat there for 5 hours, and her response was, I suggest you get yourself some food and go and wait the 5 hours. That was her response.
Wow.
That was her response.
Wow.
And going back to me saying I don't like going to waiting hospitals, something was telling me, take him to hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I said to him, get changed now, get changed now.
You didn't ring 101 or nothing like that?
No, I just went. I just literally just went.
Yeah.
And even, my dad was there at the time. I don't even think I told him. I just said to Archie, get in the car, we're going. And Baz turned up at the hospital. We obviously went into the urgent care bit. We couldn't get fast track because the GP hadn't phoned up.
But that's the bit I'm surprised by.
So we had to wait to see the streamer nurse.
Why they didn't ring that through?
No,
it's
nothing.
Mad. Okay,
nothing.
Yeah.
So we waited to see the streamer nurse. She obviously noticed that it didn't blanch. She sent us straight round. We didn't have to wait. She obviously knew. I told her that all the symptoms that he'd had, and she sent us straight round. It was a lot longer wait this time, so obviously they had to take bloods, and it was busy. There wasn't a nurse strike or anything like that. Thank God that time. But everything would just seem to be like taking ages.
Clock's going backwards.
Yeah, it was. We felt like we were sitting there, and obviously Baz had turned up by this point. He was still in his work clothes. So they said to us, we're still waiting for bloods. Come back in an hour. So we decided to go home so Baz could have a shower. We took Archie home, then went back. Baz was all clean and whatever. Why did I say that?
You know what the funny thing is, right? The fact that you said that he turned up in his work gear as well. I was going to jump in and say he's a roofer, so he's a filthy, filthy guy.
Yes.
And then so he's clean. He's honourable for the hospital now. We don't
need to know that, do we?
Now we know he's clean.
Yes.
He's shaved. He's ready for the hospital visit.
So we went back, and it was a student doctor that called us in. And she actually examined him.
Okay.
Laid him down on the bed. Was really listening to us. Really was listening to us.
That's good.
But she weren't telling me anything.
See, I was going to say, from my experience, when they don't say anything, that's when you worry.
It's bad.
Yeah, exactly, because they need to reconfirm what their suspicions are. Okay, yeah.
So she was in and out, in and out, in and out. I need to get another doctor to come and feel his tummy. In and out, in and out. And I'm thinking... And I'm looking at Baz and he's going, don't worry, it's nothing. He's probably just got an autoimmune disease, because of the urticaria.
No.
And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, shut the fuck up. Excuse my language. I was getting frustrated with him. Because he'd already
You're
told me not
panicking,
to
you're
over.
anxious,
And I was
you know
angry with
stuff's going
him,
on.
and I don't know why I was angry with him.
Well, I can kind of get it. I can kind of get it to an extent. If it was me, for example, something like that, like you say, you know something's happening. You've been knowing for months. You're at boiling point.
Yeah, I was,
you're about to pop
yeah.
because you know you're going to get that answer soon, and then it's not shutting it down as such or being condescending. It's nothing like that.
No,
but it's the fact that it's just, you know, it's like you need.
He was trying to calm my nerves, but doing it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just exacerbating the situation. You're getting more anxious because you're like,
No,
you know,
that's it.
just stop. In a sense.
So this other doctor came in, felt his tummy, everything like that.
Yeah.
Then they left the room again. They were still waiting for the bloods to come back. Going back to the doctors left the room. The student doctor came back and she said to me, you know, we're still waiting for the bloods. Can you go and sit in the waiting area?
Yeah.
I went, no.
I'm staying.
Honestly,
Staying
the waiting
here.
area was absolutely, it was heaving. And
Really?
I went, no, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not. I said, I'm not leaving this room until
I know
what is going on. I'm not going to sit in that room. I need to know what's going on. So she said, okay, you can sit here or whatever. And then I think about 10 minutes later, she came back and she said, we need to get another doctor to come down because we're just waiting for some things to be confirmed. And I said, no. I said, you need to tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to wait for another doctor.
You haven't heard
If you know
anything.
something is, you know, if you're... And she went, can you just come to the side a minute? So obviously I did. And I could see the look on her face. I can feel my emotion now.
And what?
Alright, Mum.
I could see the look on her face and I said, is it Hodgkin's lymphoma? She went, no. I said, well, what is it then? She went, we think it's suspected leukemia.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
And then it just... how
It
did
was
you
literally
feel?
like your world just crashes.
Oh, bless.
I was like, you've got it wrong.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I have got tissues
Blue
prepared.
tissue,
Yeah, blue
Blue tissue.
Industrial
I won't need it. I'll
grade
try not to
tissue.
cry. But it was literally like, you know, it doesn't sink in. I'm like, what do you mean leukemia? And at that time, I didn't know anything about leukemia. So straight away I'm thinking, oh my God, my child is going to die.
Yeah.
That is the first, I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to die. He's going to die. Like,
And at that point, did you know anything about
nothing, just
leukemia?
suspected. And that's all she said to me, that it's suspected leukemia.
But you had like no past knowledge about it
Nothing.
anyway, or anything about that type of cancer
Nothing
and
at
stuff
all.
like that.
And even then, you know, I couldn't tell Baz because he was with Archie.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
couldn't even go to Baz. They think it's this. So Baz and Archie went back in the room and I just said, I need to go and ring my mum. And I called my mum and it just came out, you know, and it was like, it's like a howling, like you're crying for your child's life.
It's that raw cry.
Yeah.
Like you say, the howling when you said,
remember the
yeah.
phone call.
And my
When you
mum
say
was going,
howling,
and
that's
my mum's
it.
going, no, you know, they must have it wrong, you know, even if it's suspected, you know, it could be wrong, they could just be picking something. And I'm going to my mum, they haven't got it wrong. I knew something was wrong. I knew all along something was wrong. And then, you know, we're still waiting for this other doctor to come down and I've gone back in the room and Baz is looking at me and he can see me all upset and he's like, well, what's going on? And I couldn't tell him. I could not tell him. And I don't know why, but it was like I didn't want to frighten Archie.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know enough about it myself. I didn't know.
And Archie's still in the room.
Archie's still in the room,
Okay,
yeah. And I just couldn't. And I'm looking at Baz and I'm going, it's not good. It's not good. That's all I kept saying to him. It's not good. It's not good. And I just went into this mode of, it's like I shut off. Completely shut off. It's like a numbness.
Yeah. Was it? Did you choose to shut off, or was it more the fact that it was just so overwhelming?
It was overwhelming, and it was like,
You
what
know?
do I do? What do I do?
You know,
Because nobody was telling me anything either.
well, this is it.
And it
I
was
mean,
like we were just sat in a room. You've just told me it's suspected leukemia, but no one's telling me anything.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, for people like listening to this, and unfortunately, if they get this same news for themselves, their kids, or whatever, I mean, what are they to expect? Like you say, at that moment in time, you know, the floors just disappeared.
Literally,
and you just,
yeah.
the world just been
And again,
swallowed
it's like,
up.
but
Like,
there
where
was
do
still
you go if that makes sense? You know, what happens in that moment?
there's
Like,
still that thing in the back of your mind where you're saying they've got it wrong.
yeah.
Because
I mean, you want
because,
to believe
yeah,
that, of
because they've
course.
only said it's suspected.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, all right. We're still holding on to that hope.
Yeah.
There's still that hope there. Okay.
It could be something else that's actually happened.
Yeah,
It's
because
not
I
actually
didn't
this
know what
and-
tests needed to be done and things like that. And I mean, eventually the doctor did come in, and another doctor come in and sat down and sort of looked at me and said, you know, I understand that, you know, we've spoken to you. Do you understand what we're saying to you? And it's like they don't want to say the words, like. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, I understand. Do you think it's leukemia? And I did say it, but obviously Archie didn't at the time understand what leukemia was because I didn't use cancer. I said, and I think at that point Baz looked at me and thought, oh fuck, kind of thing. Because I thought, you know, you've come in here and you don't. It's like they don't want to be honest with you. I think it's hard for them as well. Don't get me wrong. I think it's hard for them, but as a parent, you just need them to be honest with you because you're already living in limbo.
It's one of those things, like you say, you can't imagine, you know, when police officers have to say that someone's you know, passed away and they have to go tell the family, or, you know, medical professionals have to do that. Or
but for me, it's don't beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't, because
I need to know honestly what's going on, what we need to do, why we started it, let's go, basically, kind of thing, yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't tell me much more then because they obviously didn't really know much themselves, to be honest with you, other than the blood test had come back and his white blood cells were extremely high. They wouldn't tell me how high.
And that never came up before in the previous...
Never, ever.
Blood tests as
and
well.
And they said that his liver and his spleen were inflamed, where they'd felt his tummy.
Okay. So that's where he's getting the pain in the back, is it? Is that where
no,
the pain
so the pain in the back would have been probably at the top of where the hip bone is, and I think that's probably where the white blood cells and the leukemia blast
was just
spilling out,
accumulating and stuff at that point. Yeah.
I think that the inflamed liver and spleen were probably making his stomach small, which is why I wasn't eating. And this is my frustration, where I think if that consultant had done a full body examination,
you would have felt it
before Christmas, he would have picked that up, and
then
he would have requested further investigation,
further tests and stuff like that.
So that's all we knew at that point, and that they were keeping him in overnight. I mean, by this point it was near enough getting to midnight. Baz said he was staying with him, only one of us could stay. Obviously, between the sort of couple of hours that the doctors had been in and out and whatever, they were waiting for him to be transferred up. I'd called Baz's mum. Baz's mum had come over. My mum had come over. But we were still holding on to that hope. You know, nothing had been confirmed.
It was just preliminary kind of test. They believe it could be this, suspect it's that, and you're just hoping to hear back and go, you know, we've done the test. Actually,
we got
just got a crazy infection or something like that, some next level thing or something.
And we were told that the bloods were being sent off to the Marsden or wherever they were. Well, we were told the Marsden. I don't know where they get sent, and it would be tested to confirm if there were leukemia blasts.
Do you mind me asking? Do you want to say what hospital you were at when you were having these tests, or where you were at this point?
We were at the Princess Royal. They call it the Prue in Farnborough, Locksbottom, Kent kind of thing, Bromley, wherever you want to call it. So Baz stayed with him. I went home. Again, we were holding on to hope. I said to Baz, I'll be back first thing in the morning, which we were. My mum didn't go into work. And I think I'd called my nan and spoke to my nan. And she was trying to reassure me. She said, you know what, Robert had this, Robert, our cousin. He had this when he was little, and he kept bruising and his white blood cells were a bit high, and he went in and they just said that his platelets were low and, he was fine. Maybe it's just something like that. Maybe we're just, it's all going to be all right. So we ended up going into the hospital. The doctor, a completely different doctor on the child's ward, come and spoke to me and Baz, took us into a room and said that they were waiting for the results. And I said to the doctor, are you sure we're looking at leukemia? Like, be honest with me. I need you to be honest. We're in limbo here. Like, are you sure this is what we're looking at?
Yeah, it's 24 hours of just uncertainty so far.
And he said that his words were, if it's not, I'm going to be sitting here scratching my head. So at that point, it just kind of confirmed everything for me. If the results hadn't come back, I just...
And you know as well as anyone with doctors and stuff, they never say anything like that unless they're,
certain.
Yeah.
I was at the hospital as well.
Yeah, the kids were over, like Harry and Olivia were there, and
what were you guys thinking?
I didn't want to believe it, to be honest. I was like, no, he hasn't got it.
But were you like upset? Were you worried? Were you confused? Were you like, what the hell's going on, basically? Like, what the hell? Yesterday's this, and then this is this.
In the bed, I was like, he's definitely got something wrong with him. But
you could see he looked ill. If that makes,
I just didn't want to think it was leukemia. I don't want to think, oh, my little brother's got cancer, sort of thing.
That's exactly it. Because
you don't want to think that. You don't want. The thing is, you don't child. You don't associate cancer with children.
Well,
you don't. For me personally, when you hear cancer, you think adults.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly
because it's not thrown in your face.
And
children with cancer, you don't see it.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, when they talk about, especially like cancer things as well, and adverts out there, you've got breast cancer, you've got prostate cancer, men, women, kind of, it's very
you don't
specific.
Get adverts that say leukemia.
Yeah,
you
specific
don't.
adverts. Yeah, and there's nothing like that, and even things like children in need, Pudsey the bear and stuff when they go to the hospital wards.
But it's always the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's, it is. It's, and you never get that kind of middle ground. No. I've never seen that myself personally, and things like that for it, especially something like leukemia.
And people don't want to talk about it. I find that a lot. It is such a taboo subject, children with cancer, that they don't, because it's either they don't know what to say.
Is it because of the potential outcome?
I think so. And a lot of people have said to me, is he going to be okay? And it's like, how do I answer that? Because I don't know.
In a weird way, do you not even want to be asked that?
Not really, because I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got.
The thing is, you don't know what's going to happen. He could get to the end of treatment and do fine. He could get to the end of treatment and something could happen. Like, you don't want to think it, but there's children that I've seen that have relapsed, and it's like, they've done so well. They've got through all their treatment. They've done amazingly.
And for it to just come back again.
And you think, it's such a bastard disease.
It's horrible. It's a horrible disease.
And to see what these children go through, and you just think, like, it's shit. It's shit for them. It's shit for their family.
See, kids are innocent, and, like you said, you got this connection with Archie. He's your last baby, essentially.
The baby.
Yeah, he's the baby. There you go.
Me.
Liv's, you're not the baby no more. Sorry, and I can imagine how, like you say, you just feel lost. You feel angry. You feel scared.
Yeah.
You feel anxious. You want it to kind of all go away.
So you push all your feelings to one side just to focus on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the kids feel that as well. Like Harry and Olivia, I think right at the beginning.
I never processed it.
No, and I think because my time was on him, I'm not being funny. We got his diagnosis on Harry's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh.
Harry's 17th birthday.
That's when you got the diagnosis.
We had a meal booked, everything.
He was so...
And it was like, he's got leukemia. And you're like, it's my son's birthday.
What did you guys do? Sorry, I've got to say it in that weird way. Like, did you go to the real?
So we was at St George's at the time because he'd been transferred to St George's.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was St George's Hospital. Yeah.
So I'll go back to the diagnosis thing, and I'll get to that bit. So the doctor had come around and said, we should have results by 3:00. So we went back and I spoke to my mum, and I think was Helen there? I think Baz's mum was there at the time as well. I even think my dad had turned up.
Yeah, we were there.
And I just said...
Why did you seem so shocked when you said that?
My dad's like, my dad's so quiet, isn't he? He don't really say much, does he, old granddad?
I think we should bring him on as a guest as well.
You won't get much out of him. He'll just cry. He'll just cry for a full hour just of him crying. I can't speak, the lip tremoring and everything. But no, so I went back and I just said, look, this is what the doctor said to us, but we're still holding on to hope and everything like that. It got to 3:00 and we're still sitting there thinking he ain't coming. But obviously, like, I mean, I took a picture of Archie when he was sitting in the bed and he had like cannulas in here. But you could see his little nose was so sore from where it had all that gunk. And it just really he looked unwell. Looking back at pictures now, he'd lost so much weight. And you just, because he'd always been slim, I didn't realise how much weight he had lost.
This is like a stick.
This is where...
And you could pick him up and he would weigh nothing.
See, that's the sad thing, you guys saying that, because it's a common thing that, you know, if you're with someone or looking at something every single day, you don't notice.
No.
But someone... Did
you guys notice it? Did you ever look at Archie, like when you see us, you know, when it was Les's birthday?
Yeah, he was thinner.
Yeah. Did you notice that he lost weight?
Yeah. He was definitely thinner.
Because I remember talking to Kat and saying, like, we're going for all these tests and...
Yeah, he was definitely thinner. But again, it's difficult.
You don't want to comment on someone's child's weight, do you?
Yeah, but it's kind of like, you know, because kids are at that age, they're running around and most of them are skinny, and he's, you know,
puppy fat, didn't they? Puppy fat, up down.
And then Josh, he's stick fingered as well. So, you know, but you would think that other people might have noticed that outside of the family potentially. Yeah. You know, like you said, school and stuff.
Nothing.
As well. I mean, so for example, like Archie, did he eat packed lunch, school dinners?
So he had school dinners, and obviously he was coming home saying he didn't want to eat them. And then it got to a point where I was making him packed lunch to make sure he was eating it.
But that's what I mean. So something like that's like a sign. So he's not eating his school dinners at school.
See, this is the thing.
Was he hiding stuff?
Yes.
There you say that there.
So this is the thing. He would take a couple of mouthfuls and he'd run off to the bin and throw it away without the teachers, because there's obviously dinner ladies there that check that they're eating. So he would run off. I've eaten. I've finished.
Okay.
Or he would wait to get into the car and then he'd finish it.
Did you ever talk to him about that? Of why he did that?
Yeah, just said he wasn't hungry. Yeah. I'm just not hungry. I wanted to go out and play football. Everybody else had finished their lunch.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, at that age, and so it's probably even not that deep, you know. I mean, there were times I said to him, look, if you're not eating your lunch, I'm going to come in and sit with you. Or I'm going to speak to the teachers to find out why you're not eating your lunch. Of course, I did all them things, you know, but it just weren't... Because you don't want it to be something else or something like that. And
But that was that. I mean, in the picture he did look really skinny, and I was like, you know, how did I not see it? How did I not see how slim he was? But
so what were the tests then? So what happened? So you've obviously gone from that hospital.
So all they've done is taken bloods.
Yeah.
And the bloods have been sent off to them. I believe it was the Marsden, and we were waiting on those results. So 3 o'clock goes by, doctor don't come in, so I thought, I'm not sitting around no more. I'm going to look for him. Have you got the results back? Give me 5 minutes. He comes back, gets me in bed, sits us down. Go in a room. And I just knew. I knew from the look on his face. And he didn't even have to say it. I said, it's leukemia, innit? And he went, yeah.
Because this is the important bit for families. They're going to hear and they're going to be like, how they're going to be spoken to.
I didn't give him a chance.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you preempted it. You could just sense from the way they were talking to you guys as well, before they even announced it or anything like that.
Because you could see the look on their face. Because it's like, you know, how do you tell parents their child has got cancer? How do you do that?
Yeah.
It's hard enough being told, but how do you tell somebody that their child has got cancer?
Yeah.
So I just took it into my own hands and said, yeah, he's got leukemia, isn't he? And he just went, yeah. And me and Baz just looked at each other. I didn't even cry. I think because it was already in the back of my mind. It's almost like they do it in a way that it slowly prepares you for that news.
Yeah.
So they slowly reel you in to say, like, okay, it could be this. It's suspected.
It could be. And then
so
when
you've already got that in your thought mind, in the back of your mind, that it could be that.
And you'd already kind of, not processed it as such, but you'd had your own gut feelings leading up to that, thinking, could be this. You know, and you could have been...
My breakdown moment was when the doctor said to me, suspected leukemia. That was my breakdown moment.
Yeah. Because that was your first point of thinking, oh, it could actually be
and then it was like, okay.
Yeah.
But then from the moment he said, yeah, it It was a case of, he sort of said to me, Baz, I'll give you 5 minutes to compose yourselves or whatever. I don't even think we spoke to each other. I think we just sat there.
I was gonna, yeah.
And it was like, you kind of wanted the doctor to come back in, because what do you say to that? What
do you say to
your
each other?
husband?
Yeah.
You know, what do you say? I felt anger because...
At what?
Because I knew I was right. And I'm not saying that in a cocky way.
No. And
or arrogant or anything like that. It's like that realisation of, and it was like, I just wanted to say to Baz, why didn't you listen to me?
Was it not relief as such, but you know what I mean by that, in that sense, because it's kind of gone, that weight's off gone from your shoulders.
You've got an answer.
Finally, this is what it is. Okay, we can now go boom, 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 and move on to this.
But again, I didn't know what would happen what would be happening going forward. I didn't know anything. And then the doctor came back in and he said, we're going to move you up to a private room.
Is this at St George's?
No, this was still at the Prue.
Oh, this is still at the Prue. Okay,
so this was, the following day, 3 o'clock. He said, we're going to move you up and we're going to get a private ambulance. We just need to sort out which hospital he's going to. And I was like, what do you mean, hospital? He said, we need... Because... So they knew that it was... No, did they know at that point or not? I don't know. I just knew that they needed treatment to start immediately. That's all I knew. So I didn't know what
Due to the kind of the haste of it, you're not going.
I didn't know which type of leukemia it was. I just knew that the doctor had spoken to the Marsden, and they said that they wanted him started on a flush straight away because they needed to flush everything out.
Whatever toxins or whatever it is.
Everything,
in that sense.
yeah.
Okay.
So he was put into a room, they started the flush, and then the doctor came in and said, right, he's being transferred to St George's. We've got the ambulance sorted, he's going to be transferred by blue light. And I'm thinking, blue light? And that's when it really started to kick in, this is serious. Like, this ain't just a case of, all right, he's having 6 months of treatment and he's going to be better.
It's like the movies kind of thing.
It was literally, it felt so surreal. And within, that was 4 or 5 o'clock, within the hour, he was put into a hospital bed, strapped up, we was being wheeled down. My brother come over to the hospital, he's like, wait for me, I need to see him. And he was walking out with us, we was all walking out together. He was put into the back of the ambulance.
What's Archie saying in all of this?
Do you know what? He didn't know anything. He knew nothing.
What was he thinking? I'm in an ambulance, I'm flying.
We just said to him that he was just unwell, he was poorly, and we needed to go to a hospital because he needed some medication to get better.
Was he scared? Was he crying? Was he happy?
He was quite excited that he was going in this ambulance, and I've got a picture of him on his Instagram page of him sitting outside the ambulance with a pair of shades on.
Oh, is that the shades picture?
Yeah.
Is that the shades picture? Oh wow! I'll add that so people can see that picture as well.
That is him waiting. So me and Baz got in. I think you followed over with Nan and Grandad in the car, didn't you? But it just...
Did we go home?
No, you followed us over.
Oh.
And that, I've never been in an ambulance that's been blue lighted in my life, and...
What are you going to say? It was fun?
I can't even say it was fun. Do you know what I mean?
I felt so bad saying that, but it's
cutting all the traffic out.
I know,
it was like, bloody hell.
Tooting, it's horrible.
You know what? It was just so like, is it real? Like, is this real? Like, you just think like, what is going on? What, yesterday he was at school. And today we're in an ambulance being blue light at St George's.
Yeah, flying from
and even on the way
London.
over, we had the doctor, I think we had a couple of doctors sit in because he was on a flush. They were absolutely amazing, they were brilliant. And obviously with the flush going through him, it can send him into a bit of a...
Is it kind of like shock kind of thing?
A little bit, yeah. So it's making him go a bit like...
Because it's cold fluid that gets pumped through, and it freezes. It's not freezes, but it makes.
But you could see him going a bit like like that, and I'm going, Archie trying to get his thingy, and they actually pulled over to check that he was all right, and I think they either turned it up or turned it down a bit.
Your heart would stop, I could feel it in myself.
But even on the way over, we had people texting us. I think even Mum put a message on the family chat saying,
yeah.
And what did you think when you read that? Just from your perspective. I know Kat said she had a cry, but what did you think? Could you believe it?
I believed it, but again, outside of this, me and you and our conversations and stuff like that, we've got sort of similar weird. I called it weird.
Perspectives.
Yeah, like, you know, to certain things. And,
The earth is flat.
no,
Go down that road.
No, nothing like that. But you know, it's not that things happen for a reason, but like, you know, the things that you were talking about previously.
Yeah.
I remember when we were at that. What was it? Christmas. Was it Christmas or a party just before that and stuff? And you were talking about the bruises on his feet that you just discovered.
Yeah.
And things, and I could sense it in you. You know that something was up.
Yeah.
That's not the norm. And you know, I'm one of those people that can, you know, I just got a lot of just general knowledge and weird, and I can kind of work things out like common, you know, common sense kind of thing. And you know, when you're mentioning things like lymph nodes and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, that's infection. That's, you know, that's to do with this viruses, and you know, it wasn't that I was thinking of anything like leukemia or anything like that, but it's like. This, I knew from what you were saying to me, it was much more than just something general, like a general thing.
Yeah.
This ain't strep, this ain't COVID, this ain't this ain't that. This is something that desperately
underlying is going
needs
on.
to be needs to be looked into. It's something very serious to have that type of bruising, like you said, in those areas underneath his feet and stuff like that, and you know, in those areas where. You haven't bashed into anything to accidentally get a bruise, but you're just getting bruising. It's like your body's breaking down or something.
Well, it was, yeah.
And this
it
is
was,
it, yeah. So yeah, you know, when I was really upset for you guys and stuff. You know, I'm the biggest cry. I cry at the weird things. To be honest. I don't cry at the things I should cry. I cry at the things I shouldn't cry. And you know, and I just thought about Josh.
Yeah.
And Sophie.
You think about your own kids, didn't you?
You know, and I'm just like, and you
I
just
did the same thing even when you see other kids going through it, and you think,
Yeah,
oh
you
my
know.
God, what would I do if that was my child?
And that's
How
exactly
would you
it.
act?
And I can't. The older I get, older the kids get, the harder it is for me to watch stuff to do with children.
Yeah.
Anything negative having to children, whether it's, you know, like I say, medical, kidnapping, all that, war, you know, natural disasters, anything like that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart, and I can't even watch it. I can't. I'm like,
I'll turn it off. I can't.
yeah, because it just hits home too much. Because you just think so innocent. Like there's no reason. You know, and like we were saying earlier, there's everything happens for a reason in the sense and stuff, and it's like, but there's no reason for this. You know, like you said, unless it bolsters you guys as a family, but you guys are a really tight knit family group, love each other, support each other, help each other. You know, so it's. You think? Did you ever think, why me?
No.
You never thought that?
No.
Why
I don't know why.
Why has this happened to us?
Not
like,
why me, I thought why him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and like, why is like, yeah.
Because I thought, like, no child deserves it, but I just look at him and I think he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's such a good kid, like he really is. He hasn't got a bad bone in his body. Alright, he can be a little sod. He can be a little sod. Who isn't with their brother and sister?
All kids, yeah, that's all
But
kids.
he has got the biggest heart. Like, he would do anything. Even he'd give his sister his last sweet. Like he would,
Give
wouldn't
like
he?
a fiver to a poor person.
Like he's got this money jar at home, right? So he saves up money, and if Liv wants to get her nails done, he'll come out and go, "Oh, there's 20 quid."
Oh, bless him.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's lovely.
Obviously, I don't take it. But...
Yeah, you do.
No, she doesn't. But he has got the biggest heart. And he's so talented. Like, he's an amazing singer, he's an amazing dancer, he's a quick learner. He is a smart kid, and I just think he was, you know, like, he was, you know, even at the performing arts place he was at, you know, they wanted to sign him up to an agency. He was achieving things.
Yeah, he had the energy, he had the confidence. You know.
I thought, you know, he was progressing in football, like he was doing amazing in football.
It's
like
always opportunities were taken away.
Yeah, and it's like everything just stopped.
Time literally stopped.
Just everything was up. No more. That's it.
Where were we? So
the ambulance.
We're in the ambulance. Archie's got his shades on. He's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready to rumble. He's loving it. You know, he doesn't know what's going on.
No, he hasn't got a clue. So we get to St George's, and they tell us that he is going in. They call it PICU.
Okay.
I think I pronounced that right. So it's paediatrics intensive care unit.
Okay.
When I heard that, I was like, why does he need to go in intensive care? Is is it really that bad?
ICU, this is exactly it. You know what I mean?
And obviously, you don't, when you're walking through the corridors of this hospital, I've never ever been to this hospital before. This is all new to me.
I used to work there.
Oh, did you?
That's why.
You know how big it is.
And it's huge, and it's an amazing, amazing hospital with a lot of specialists. Yeah. There, it's a fantastic hospital. Shout out to St George's, just to say.
Amazing. And the Pickney ward, they are amazing. So we're going through these corridors, and I don't even know where I'm going. I'm just following this Archie in the hospital bed, taking us up.
He's not strapped up to anything at the moment or anything. He's just in a bed.
No, just the flush. Just the flush that they're carrying along, and that's it. So we get into the intensive care unit, and he's put into the first bed bay. And I've never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, you see it on television programmes, but you never think you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And there's all these other children in there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like this is serious. Like, what is going on here? All these doctors are running around. He's being attached to this, attached to that, and I'm thinking like, but no one's telling me anything. Again, no one's telling me nothing. And
are these kids at the start of their treatment, or they midway, or their end, or
some of them are in there for all different reasons.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
I don't think any of them are in there for the same reasons as Archie. It could be that some of them could have been in a car accident. I don't know. Me and Baz had just sat there, literally like a couch like this, next to the bed. Doctors in and out, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? They're just rushing around, they're taking blood, they're attaching into all these machines, there's oxygen levels, and I don't know what any of this means. Like, the levels here, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, of course.
So, about an hour later, another doctor pulled me and Baz into a room and sat us down and said, like, obviously you know that it's leukemia, but now we need to know what type of leukemia it is.
So I never knew that. I just thought leukemia was leukemia. It's just, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
And that's it,
So I think
not to put you on the spot or anything like that. So it's like, is there like a few forms? Do you know how many?
Yeah, I don't know how many. I haven't done my research that much, but yeah, you've got acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is what he's got, which is what Archie's got. You've got acute myeloid leukemia.
Okay.
I think so. What's that? ALL, AML. There's all different types. You've even got CLL.
Oh wow. Okay. So there is there's a few.
Yeah.
So okay.
I'd have to pull it up.
No, I'll put that out.
So again, to get to that point, even with the type of leukemia he's got, there's a B cell and a T cell.
Okay.
So they then have to determine which cell it is that is being naughty.
Is the one that's mutating as such to be the cancer. Okay.
So, a lot of kids, when they've got ALL, they have the B cell. Archie's got the T cell.
Okay.
So the T cell is a little trickier to train to behave.
Yeah.
It is a little trickier, but it's doable.
Yeah. Is it a bit more of an intense kind of?
Not really, no, because so it all depended on how he responded to treatment.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later on down the line.
That's
we'll
it.
Get to
That's
that
it.
bit. So the doctor took us in. Obviously, it's leukemia. We need to know which type of leukemia. We'll know within the next 24 hours. A consultant will be around from the Mars to speak to you. Okay. Have you told Archie? No. What have you told Archie? I've told him that his blood is poorly.
Yeah.
That's all I've told him, that his blood is poorly.
Because I remember you telling us
yes.
that. I remember you telling us that to say, look, we haven't told him.
No.
We just said his blood's poorly. I remember you saying that, yeah.
At that point, she kind of said to us that it would be best to tell Archie because the word is going to be thrown about quite a lot.
And he was 8 at the time?
He was 8, so he would understand. It's not like you've got like a...
Yeah, a 4-year-old, this is it.
He doesn't understand. Like I'm sure by the age of, 6, every child knows the word cancer. Knows that it's a bad thing.
And they got upset. They did. Josh and Sophie cried. I remember them crying.
I think you don't realise how much it can affect
because,
children.
Because they can comprehend death to a certain extent, or but the loss, I think, is more than the actual death part. It's the fact of loss, and I think that's what hit Josh more than anything, because how much he loves Archie and stuff like that. And going
back to that with obviously telling your children, when we were back at the Peru before we were blue lighted over, we had to tell.
Oh, we've lived, Harry,
Olivia.
yeah.
And I found that, obviously, with you got really upset, didn't you? But with Harry, it was like
anger.
I don't think it was anger.
Didn't he walk out?
No, it was like he was processing it, but the emotions, he wasn't showing the emotions.
He just didn't want to, it was just...
I don't think
I don't want to be in that environment kind of thing, like I need to get out.
Yeah, and I don't think he wanted to show Archie that he was upset.
Yeah.
He wanted to be that big
I'm going to be strong big brother for you.
And I find my emotions getting to me even now, but with Harry... Got tissue.
You got a tissue. I'm not. If you see my head ducking, everyone, you know that's that's tissue duty.
He doesn't show his emotions, does he?
No.
He doesn't. He's very much like I don't think he wanted to accept how serious it was.
Yeah.
It was very hard for him, and even now, if I talk to Harry about it now.
Well, you guys are. You're still young. Yeah, thank you. You guys are still young, you know. You're teenagers and stuff. But it's
Liv is very much more emotionally involved.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times when you've had to give him chemotherapy at home, haven't you? We'll get into that later on down the line.
Yeah, because this is all the stuff that people. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
People just. I wouldn't have even thought about that. Yeah. That hadn't even crossed my mind.
With me, I don't think I have still processed it fully.
Yeah.
So I think all your emotions, like ever since I found out, I've just like been. It's like you go numb. You don't know what to feel.
It's like you know he's ill. You know he's ill, but
and it's
not that you try and ignore it.
It's like with certain things, people expect me to be annoyed about something, but I'm just like, I don't care with certain things, and it's just like I think because of finding out about that, I just don't care about anything else.
Did it give you? Is it that you didn't care about stuff, or did it give you a different perspective on stuff that used to affect you?
I think it was
you're
that I found I took things very seriously.
Yeah.
And I think ever since finding that out, I just was like...
That thing's not that serious, actually.
It's not that deep to be worrying about.
That's very mature and stuff like that to thinking that.
And I think it matures your other children a lot as well.
Do you know what? It's like a truth bomb.
Yeah.
That it can happen to you.
To anybody.
You see it always out there, but when it hits home...
Yeah.
Another thing is I found myself finding things to distract myself with. Like going out all the time or just being in my room on my phone. Just.
Did it affect your school or anything like that?
Yeah, and only until recently I found out that she was put on report quite a lot because she was turning up late to lessons.
We'll edit that out. We'll edit that out. Don't worry. We'll edit that out. I might keep it in there for a lot.
It's expected, isn't it? Like, you know, how do you expect these? I mean, the school knew what was going on.
The school. They was like, at first, they was like, oh, how are you, like, things like talk to us, but then now it's like, they don't ask me.
Okay.
Like, I think my friends were a lot more supportive, like...
I think as it goes on, it gets forgotten, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you think they're in treatment, they're okay.
Because, like, my friends now, they always ask, how's Archie, like, work...
Because they care for you, that's exactly it, you know, they care for you, whereas school... There is an element of care, but then it kind of, you know...
We won't mention names, but she actually had a friend. We won't mention names. She had a friend that was, we thought at the time, a really good friend. And when she found out, obviously she told this friend about Archie.
At first she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, to find this out and all of this. So I was like, okay, maybe she's going to, like, support me through this.
There were a couple of comments that were made about, you know, his diagnosis not being serious and he's going to survive.
And she was like...
The friend's mum had a form of cancer. The friend's mum is now okay, which is absolutely fine. But a comment was made to Olivia about, well, your brother's going to survive, my mum isn't. But it was done in a way that was... It was kind of this friend likes the attention on her and not anybody else.
How dare someone else get cancer at the same time?
It was, and
you know, not an adult.
I think it's important. I think it's important to show
sympathy.
No, not sympathy. It's important to share things like this. Because it shows how children are treated when they go back to school.
Well, this is it. No, and that's why I wanted to especially ask about like Liv and Harry, and it'd be nice for Harry
at some point to come
as well.
He's off on his holidays, enjoying
the sun, because like you say, what's happening to Archie, the profound effect it's had on you as a mum, but obviously on his siblings as well. And like you said, kids can be blooming horrible. And they can be mean and they can see hurtful things to each other.
There was another thing that she said. She was like, I said, well, yeah, obviously I've only just found out. So my mum said if I need any time off school, then she's more than happy to let me have a few days off. And she said, well, you can't use that as an excuse to not come into school or you're going to fail all your GCSEs and stuff like that.
It's not really a supportive comment, you know?
No.
And I thought because she's, like, obviously...
been through it herself, she would be more sympathetic. Yeah.
I thought she would be more supportive to it, so I just brushed it off. And she did do one nice thing, which she took me out for like a day or whatever. But then from then,
the friendship just broke down. Yeah.
And it did honestly really hurt me, because I thought we were such good friends, and then, like, I'm still hurt by it now.
Because obviously, of course, it was so important.
I thought she would be so supportive with it and stuff, but she just really wasn't.
No.
And obviously, they always say in these types of situations, you always find out about friends and families, yourself even.
It really shows
as well,
what
you know,
what your friends'
true
priorities
friends,
are.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's
shows
an actual
where their priorities are, like.
And did you have anything like that, bullying or anything at school? Were people being mean about Archie or anything like that?
I would say a lot of people were very like, how's your brother and stuff. A lot of people didn't really ask me, they're more messaging.
Okay.
But a lot of people at school, I don't think they knew he was my brother.
Yeah.
But I think because I kept...
hot in here, isn't it?
Because I was like,
all these lights.
But because I was like reposting on Instagram saying it's my brother, a lot of people did like obviously like clock on that he was my brother, and they kept asking like, how is he and stuff. But I think now it's just no one really asks apart from like my actual friends.
Close
friends, family and stuff like that. Well, no, I appreciate you saying
going back to...
Where are we now? Where are we back?
So we're in ICU.
We're in ICU.
PICU. Is that in PICU? I don't know. If somebody knows how to pronounce it, let us know.
Was it the Paediatric Intensive Care Unit?
Yeah.
PICU. Yeah, it must be PICU. PICU.
So going back to, you need to tell Archie that he's got cancer.
Yes.
So I'm looking at Baz and I'm thinking, I can't do that. How can you tell a child that your own child, that they have cancer? I'm thinking, I can't do it. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to this doctor and I'm, going, well, what am I meant to say to him? I can't just blurt it out.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be like, what the hell's that, mum? Like, well, you know.
So I asked the doctor to sort of help me tell him. So we went in and I sat down on the bed with him and I said, like, do you understand what's going on? And he said, no. And I said, do you understand that your blood is poorly? And he said, yeah, I understand that. And, they're giving me medication to make me better. And I said, yes. I said, but, we know there's a name for it. We know what the illness is now. And we just said, like, Archie, you've got cancer. And there was no other way to say it. There wasn't. And it broke me because I thought,
I was going to say, So what happened next? So you've told him, Archie, I've got cancer. Like, how did you react? Did you just then break down?
He cried.
Did he cry?
He cried. And then me and Baz both cried. And we just said to him, we just kept saying to him, you're going to beat this. Because we just wanted to lift him up. Because he'd just been told this devastating news. And we just kept telling him, you're going to beat this, you're going to fight this. We're going to be here every step of the way. You are going to beat it. And that was tough. That was really tough. How do you deal with that?
I don't think there's any right way. There can be wrong ways, but I don't think there's any right ways.
No, there isn't. And then on top of that, you then have to tell your child he's going to lose his hair.
So
that was hard.
So that's the thing. So what questions was he asking? So you've said, look, you've got cancer.
Am I gonna die?
Yeah.
He said, am I going to die?
Yeah.
And I straight away I said no.
And what did that do to you when you heard that?
I wanted to run.
Yeah. I can see. I was even getting emotional there.
Yeah.
I got a bit emotional there.
As much as you don't want to, everything in your body is telling you to run.
Get away. You want to get away from it.
Yeah.
You want to get away from it.
You cannot.
Yeah. You
can't cope with it. You can't cope with seeing your child like that. You can't cope with all the emotions that you're feeling. You're stuck in this hospital. You can't scream. You can't shout. You literally just have to sit there and be there for your child.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just wanted to get up and leave. That's all I wanted to do, just get up and just
disappear.
Leave. Yeah. And pretend that it wasn't happening.
Totally understand that. Totally get that. You know.
And then it was like, you know, his oxygen levels would drop. And I'm thinking he can't breathe. His breathing would stop every couple of minutes. And I'm thinking, like, no one was doing anything. So I went and spoke to somebody and said something needs to be done. And they did put him on oxygen and it brought the levels up.
Can I ask something? It might sound weird. Did you find that when you got to the hospital and a diagnosis that he got worse? He physically got worse, like you said. Like, just because you said about the breathing and his oxygen levels.
Yes.
Did it just seem to go a bit downhill all of a sudden? Yeah. Because everyone was kind of aware, if that makes sense, of what was happening?
Yeah, and I think because it had got to a point where the leukemia was taking hold, and he hadn't started treatment at this point.
Well, he was
literally just being flushed.
Yeah, he just literally just found out he's there. Yeah.
And it was like, you know, his nose was getting worse, his breathing was getting worse, he weren't eating.
At all, yeah.
At all.
So they must be doing like intravenous drip to him as well, fluids, the whole.
And it was like, he was weak. Obviously, he didn't even want to get out of bed. I don't think he got out of bed for 7 to 10 days.
Wow.
Other than, obviously, we were bringing the things so he
can go to the toilet, the bedpan and stuff.
Because he did not want to get out of bed.
Wow. Okay, that's taken a lot of that, out of him. Then, so the only reason I asked that it's just stuff I hear and I've seen before and talking to people just in general. It's always that thing when you don't know you have something. Yeah. Nothing really happens, and then the day you hear it, it's like all of a sudden.
I think to myself, you know, because you hear stories of older children going through leukemia, and you think they say how they feel. Or how they felt before they were diagnosed, like, oh, I felt weak and I felt tired. And I sit there and I think, did Archie not feel right, but he didn't know how to communicate that to me? You know, was he not feeling right in himself, but he didn't know how to explain that to me?
That's the intriguing thing with what you're saying and stuff like that, because you know he's an articulate kid, you know he can say this, you know he can say that. Was he trying to protect you guys, or did he not just want to say it? Was it just his age and he just put it to the back of his mind?
You just don't know.
I didn't think it was that important to kind of say.
No.
You know, because we say to Josh sometimes as well, you know, so Sophie's much more open to come forward to us and talk, whereas Josh is a bit more...
you have a double check.
Yeah, like, what happened? Yeah, it was good. Was it?
Go into a bit more depth. I know.
So, you know, so he's asking you about... And like I say, you know, no parent, I can't even imagine any of the kids asking, will they die? You know, it's heartbreaking. The fact that they're even contemplating that in the first place, that's not even a thought that should go into a child.
Because I think you associate cancer with death, don't you?
And this is exactly it, you know.
But we told him he wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
And we made sure that was asserted. We asserted that to him, like, you know, no, we are not going to let that happen. I mean, it was a rough night. Really rough night in there, really rough. The only way to explain it, right, it's like, you know, you hear people when they say, like, they've done cocaine, right? I know we're going down the road of talking about drugs, and they're like
zone out?
Literally off their nut because they can't sleep. That is the only way to describe the adrenaline that's going through your body.
You're emotionally drained. You're physically drained. You've had no sleep, barely any water, any food, and you're just running on fumes.
Literally. You can't eat, you can't... I mean, my mum was like, you need to have a cup of tea. They were in the family room waiting, because we were in with Archie, you couldn't have visitors in. My brother's trying to shove tea down me, and I'm like, I can't drink it, I feel sick. I feel like if I put that tea, I'm going to be sick. I didn't eat for days, I couldn't drink. And... like, we were given it, which is what's really good at St George's, you get given a private room, so one of you can go off and get some sleep and things like that. I just couldn't sleep. I was in and out, you know.
I remember you saying and stuff like that about like makeup or something like that. It was like the first time I put makeup on in ages, like, you know.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking about yourself.
I just didn't even care. Not even care. And then it was like, so come the next day, you know, we eventually got him off to sleep that night. Again, the doctors were in and out all night, checking him hourly.
Waking him up. I know,
Yeah.
so annoying. And you're like, you need sleep, and
So
just,
he woke up the next day, and they said he's nil by mouth because we needed to go down for a bone marrow aspiration because we need to see what the leukemia blasts are saying, sort of thing.
Yeah.
We had the consultant who is now our consultant, our lovely consultant, who I absolutely adore because he's just amazing. He came round about 2:00 in the afternoon, and we kind of said, like, what's going on? He's not eating, he's not had anything to drink or anything like that. And he said, right. He was quite angry actually because he said he told them that it wasn't going ahead, so that he could eat. So Archie was quite happy. He was eating a packet of Pringles or whatever he was doing. And our consultant asked to speak to me and Baz in the room. Took us to the room and said, right, so we know which type of leukemia it is.
Yeah.
It's the best type that you could have.
Excellent. I was going to say.
As soon as I heard those words, I was like, right, I mean, it's cancer. There's no best type of anything, really, is there?
You were saying the doctor's taken you into a room.
Yep, sat us down and obviously told us it was the best type.
The best type of leukemia.
Type.
I don't think I'd ever hear that in my life, but...
Basically sat us down and told us what would happen going forward. You know, that treatment could be anything from 3 to 5 years. And when I heard that, I was like, what?
Oh, dear, that's almost his life at the moment. You know,
it was almost like, you know, it's taking away his childhood.
Well, it is. This is it.
It is, you know, he's just gone into year 4.
He's going to be a teenager.
He's going to be in year 7. When treatment finishes, he's going to be in year 7. And even then, you've got all that anxiety after of, you know, we've got to go back for checkups and everything like that. So basically, treatment would be anywhere between 3 to 5 years. And what happens with leukemia is you get put on it's called a regimen.
Yeah.
It's regimen A, regimen B, regimen C. And that is all down to how he responds to treatment and everything like that, what type of leukemia it is.
Yeah.
A being, how do I put it? I don't know how to put it. So not a lot of children go on A.
Yeah.
Most children go on B, and if it's quite a bad leukemia, you go on C.
So is that how it is?
Yeah, it kind of goes
the
down.
Intensity levels kind of the treatment. Okay.
So we were told that he would start on regimen B, and the following day treatment would be started the following day.
Yeah.
They would take him down the following day for a bone marrow aspiration, and a PICC line would need to be fitted. And I'm like, well, what's a PICC line?
I was about to say, what's
a PICC line?
Yeah.
He had a lovely nurse sitting with him. She was the one that was going to fit the PICC line. So what happens is they make a small incision in his arm, and they feed like a catheter type tube. They obviously do it by it's ultrasound. So they feed the tube in, and it sits into an artery next to the heart.
Wow.
So when they administer chemotherapy, take blood, anything like that, it would be done here. The cannulas would be able to be removed.
So he's basically got like an inbuilt cannula kind of
basically
thing.
So that was the first port of call because they didn't want to keep stabbing him everywhere basically.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, it's so
nice.
painful pulling that in and out. And...
So we know there's 2 types. So you could have a port fitted, which sits around the rib area, but he was too skinny at the time, which is why they went for the PICC line. So that would be what would be happening. They would test the bone marrow for leukemia blast to see what percentage it was at.
Yeah.
The PICC line would be fitted, and we would be starting on regimen B.
Okay.
And what happens from there is he basically ran through everything with us. We obviously asked lots and lots of questions. When will he lose his hair? Will his hair come back? We had holiday booked. Could he go on holiday? Can he go back to school? All these questions.
Who can he see? Can he see family, friends? What can he eat?
So in the beginning, that's it. So even eating,
That's
things like that.
Yeah.
In the beginning, we were told
what can he
that
drink? Yeah, so much.
It's crazy. You know, I needed a notebook because it was literally going in that ear and out that ear.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with it. So at the beginning, we were told it would be 6 weeks he would be missed at school. 6 weeks, and then he would be able to go back to school. And that weren't right, because that didn't happen. We had a holiday booked for June, which we were taking him away for his birthday. We asked, would that be a possibility? It could be a possibility. We'll have to see at the time. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Again, we spoke about food. So they can't eat anything that's like undercooked. Everything has to be overcooked because of risk of infection.
And like live yogurts.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
Live bacteria.
Yeah.
Poor kid. He has to have a well done steak.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Basically like a pregnant woman diet. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he loves prawns, and we would...
Yeah, no fish. Yeah, well, this is it. Shellfish.
Yeah,
this is
couldn't.
it. So what, you can't have probiotic yogurt and stuff like that?
No,
live
because
culture.
it's got live bacteria in it.
Live bacteria, yeah. I didn't even think about
Nothing
that.
like that.
Wow.
Ice cream vans. Anything from an ice cream machine.
Can't even touch.
No. Unless it's in a wrapper or in a tub.
Like, it's pasteurised or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
so certain cheeses he can't have.
Yeah.
Parmesan cheese.
No.
Parmesan, he has to have the
everything's got to be pasteurised.
Pasteurised, yeah.
So all things like that. Certain flowers, they don't like flowers because flowers release fungus.
I mean, I suffer from hay fever, so I hate flowers in general.
And you know what? I'm going to be honest in this, right? So right at the beginning, right, I'm going to be so honest. Everyone was sending me flowers, right? And I did not have the heart to tell them that I couldn't have flowers in the house.
It's like, Mum, just put them in the bin.
No, I was putting them in the garden. I was putting them in a vase because I just, people were turning up and I was thinking, they'd be at the door. And because of what the consultant had told me, I was literally running to the back door with these flowers because I was so frightened that anything off, it was going to cause
like lilies and stuff like that. Like the more,
So so now everybody, please don't buy me flowers.
No, look, this is it. See, people wouldn't have even known that at home.
And it's not that. I've had quite a few other oncology mums say to me that they didn't even know that.
That's what I mean.
They didn't even know.
Not even know. It would not even. I would not have even. It just. Like I
mean, we've been told now. I mean, I've spoken to our sheltered care, and they've said to us now that a lot of it is as well to do with the water that is in the vase because if
it goes all mouldy.
Yeah,
it's bacteria.
So we have been told. I mean, please don't take it so literally, like I did. Run into the back door with flowers, but if you wanted to keep, a bunch of flowers in a vase, you just need to
keep on top of them, fresh water all the time.
Once the flowers start to wilt, throw them away.
Yeah.
And obviously, don't keep them in the bedroom with.
Keep them away.
In the kitchen, lots of ventilation. I mean, even to the point I wasn't taken to a garden centre because I was that frightened.
You just didn't want to.
I have now.
Yeah.
Because they've said to me, it's not like he's sitting there in the middle of a bunch of flowers. He's just
throwing flowers at him.
But it's understandable. There are these things, it really does.
Well, you don't know. This is the thing.
It's the start. All new.
It's like, at the end of the day, you've just found out your son's got cancer, the type of cancer it is, the level, because it's the infection, white blood cells and stuff, the autoimmune is just gone.
Yeah.
He's got no disease protection whatsoever. You don't even want to take him out of the house. I'm surprised you did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to. You put him in a bubble and go, there you go.
And that was it, yeah. But we had all this being thrown at us at from the doctors, our consultant and everything. And I said to my consultant, I said, are you going to be with us the whole time through this? And he went, well, I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. And I thought, you know what? He was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I
made a difference,
yeah, it really, really did. He's just, even when we see him at the Marsden now, he's just such a lovely guy. He'll pop his head in, he'll ask how Archie's getting on and... he's amazing. Nice. Really, he loves his job. You can see that he loves his job.
They're the people you need. That's the people you need in those types.
And he said something so lovely to Archie because obviously he sat down when Archie was in ICU and he said to him, he explained to Archie the type that he had, and he said to Archie, he said, "We're going to make you all better, buddy," and that sort of it stuck with me that he believed. And now I believe, I do believe that he is better. I was going to ask that question. Yeah. What do you need? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Get through this. You need the people making your child better to believe that they are going to get better. Because if you don't feel like they're competent of doing that, you're just going to lose all faith. Yeah. And I think with me, I trust my consultant so much. Yeah.
That's incredibly important, though, like you say, so you can have those conversations.
Yeah.
You can see what, and just be able to just hash it out if things aren't going right, or even if they are going right, and then take a step back and stuff like that. And even with
questions, I always say this, before, I've never been one for writing things down. Write everything down. Please just do it.
You'll forget something.
Yeah, no, honestly, any questions, write it down. Anything that's going on, write it down. I've had parents, us like 3 months into it, and parents have come up to us, we're just newly diagnosed, and I'm still learning myself. And all I can say to them is just take note of everything. Absolutely everything, because then you can look back, you can see how far they've come, you can see how well they've progressed.
Well, that's why I want to offer, because this you're doing and stuff like that with this podcast. That's why we want to do a transcript for people out there as well.
Yeah.
So that if you don't want to listen to obviously the whole podcast in one go or anything like that, then by all means you can use the transcript and just look at sort of key areas that might be important to you, whether it's to do about diagnosis, as this episode's about. And how Natalie and Archie got there, and the family did as well, and how they felt about that. So, we're going to have all of these different sort of types of information available to you all at home as well. Like I say, transcript. If you want to read it at a later date, you're going to have the podcast as well to listen to. You're going to have the breakdown of the story as well. So whatever part of the journey you guys at home may be at on your with your kids, or if it's you going through this journey yourself, even if you're alone and you don't feel like you've got no one to support you or anything, by all means you can reach out to us as well. We'll provide information, links as well to local charities, the Leukaemia Trust and St George's Hospital and all the other areas that have helped Archie, website links, just so that everyone at home can obviously not feel lost in the situation.
I think that's the thing, that's the key thing as well. You feel alone.
And that's
you feel like nobody else is going through it.
Yeah.
Until we go to the Marsden and we see
everybody
else going through it. When you're at home, you think that it's just you.
Yeah. And
you do feel alone.
And it helps though, I can imagine.
Being obviously, there helps.
Being there,
you speak to other mums and know that they feel exactly the same.
And then everyone's at different, obviously, stages of the journey and stuff like that. So some people are much later, some people just been diagnosed and things.
But going back to that, we had another doctor come out and say, Archie's doing really well when he was in ICU. We feel that we can move him to a ward now, which is what happened. He was moved to a ward. And he was moved to Pickney Ward, the most amazing ward. Cannot fault them, they are absolutely amazing. And that's where treatment started.
Okay. Well, I think we'll leave treatment to the next episode. Just as a last finisher for people at home, I want to talk again about the signs, what you would consider to be the main signs for you, stuff for people at home would need, if they've noticed this, go, you know what, I'm not going to wait around anymore. I've heard Natalie say this, and you know what, this person's got it, or I've got this, and this is what I need to do. So what would you say are the main important signs?
I would say if your child is overly exhausted and tired. Another symptom with Archie is he lost his colour from his face. He looked very, very pale. So if your child's lost colour, breathlessness, pain in the back, pain in the legs, headaches, vomiting, night sweats. That is one thing I didn't touch on. See, this is all coming back to me now. Archie had night sweats, and I don't mean like a little sweat. It's going to be drenched.
And you're ill in that.
That's it. Feeling full very quickly.
I
touched on everything there.
Bruising and stuff.
Yeah, bruising. So bruising in places they wouldn't normally bruise in, and
is it a different type of bruise as well?
So there is a name for it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it is. So it's the pinprick bruising that you get. So it looks like it's almost like it's a blood colour. So it's like red purple colour, and it's a pinprick, and it almost looks like a rash rather than a bruise.
Okay. But
yes, and also bruising.
Yeah.
I think I've covered all of it.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure I have.
And the lymph nodes.
And the lymph nodes, the swollen lymph nodes.
They're
Yes,
inflamed, swollen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if antibiotics are obviously working, if you've taken your kid.
And if they're displaying any of those symptoms, please request a blood test. It's an FBC. It's a full blood count.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
so
FBC.
FBC, everyone, full blood count.
And anybody can request it.
Yeah,
There's no reason why your
and they can't reject it.
They cannot refuse it.
So they
if
can't
you feel like your child has got any of them symptoms,
just go for a full blood count. Take everything, sugar, liver, the whole shebang.
And document everything. The days that they're feeling unwell, everything. Yeah.
That's really good advice. Actually on the document everything. Keep a diary.
Yes.
If you're overly worried about stuff, even if you're not overly worried, again, it's always better to be safe than sorry with these things. In Natalie's case, you know, as you said, it was caught. Would you consider early?
Yes.
Very early.
Although the doctors say you can't catch these things early, I think if I wasn't on top of it, because of the percentage of leukemia cells that were found in his bone marrow, I believe I caught it early.
It was quite low in comparison to other kids of that similar sort of age and that part of their journey and stuff. That's really so you know, with the signs and stuff like that, we've got the signs in place, everyone. So like we say, you know, the next episode we're going to be talking about treatment, and we will, as normal, as you can tell in this, there's so much to talk about. We will be going off on tangents and talking about. I'm
trying to suppress my emotions because I don't want to cry in front of you, Rick, because I don't want to make you cry.
I mean, I almost went. There was a point. I almost went. Yeah, she was looking at me. She was going as well, and I was like, "Don't look at me, Liv." But no, honestly, I just want to say.
I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. That's the thing.
But this is exactly it. You know,
I want them to feel the emotion, and I will get emotional, but
it's a horrible situation.
It is. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
And that's the important message here. Is having the right support around you, having the right information around you.
Yes.
Yeah. Having the right people around you. Yeah. And being true to yourself. Yeah. As you've heard in this, Natalie pushed, you know, for this, you know, and that's an incredibly important lesson. I think
the thing is, nobody knows your child better than you.
And that's it, and that's exactly it, you know, and that's a vital, important point. And I just want to say thank you for being so honest, and thank you to Olivia as well for your honesty. We will get some more people on the show as well, like I say, who will be a part.
I can't wait to get Baz on. You guys are going to love Baz.
And then hopefully, you never know, not predicting the future or anything like that. Have Archie.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah? Do you know what I mean? So, it'd be lovely.
He's already asked to come on.
Yeah? So, that's what I mean. It'd be lovely
I'm sure you guys are going to meet Archie. You're going to love him.
And Harry as well, and Baz. And this is what I mean. It's just nice to hear things from other people's perspectives.
Yes.
Because this isn't just for those at home who are going through this, or their kids might be going through this. It might be a dad or a mum, a gran, and someone who's not affecting them directly, but wants to be able to help, wants the knowledge, wants to know the links and the support network so that they can then help their family or friends in any way possible, you know, through this horrible situation ultimately, which is what it is. But, you know, with the good people around you, it makes the situation better, manageable, with a happy ending. You know, so we just want to say thank you again, everyone, for listening and watching. This is our first podcast, and
we're really new to this, guys.
Just brand new. This is fresh. This is
so new to us. Like, we have not got a clue what we're doing.
So thank you, and
we just want to raise awareness.
Exactly, and give us some feedback. We really appreciate comments.
So we're gonna questions. If anyone's got any questions, please ask away.
So what we'll do is as well, I'll put on our sort of just the podcast channel. You will see the information, links and stuff to obviously Archie's Instagram as well. His sort of web support and things like that, any type of GoFundMes and things like that as well, so that, you know, you've got all the links there. You can kind of keep up to date with Archie's journey and send messages via Instagram to Natalie, and if we don't answer them on Instagram, because she gets inundated, as we found out, with all the love and support from everyone.
We can ask for them on here.
Exactly, and that's where it is. You know, the single place to get all your leukemia information.
Little leukemia Q&A.
This is it, leukemia Q&A. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening and watching our podcast, Living with Leukemia, with Natalie and Olivia. And yes, we will see you all soon for our next podcast. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.